Controversy trails APC presidential candidate Asiwaju Bola Tinubu's school certificate and educational qualification. Senate confirms all 7 ministerial nominees a week after receiving their nominations from President Muhammadu Buhari. Welcome everyone to Politics Today. I'm Terry Ikumi. Now, the main opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, has inaugurated its campaign council for the forthcoming Osun State governorship election, with the governor of Bayelsa State as the chairman. About a week after the ruling All Progressives Congress inaugurated its own committee, the PDP Osun Governorship Campaign Council comprises 128 members, including Governor Darius Ishaku of Taraba State, Governor Makinde of Oyo State, and Governor Tambuwal of Sokoto State. The PDP vice presidential candidate, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa, also assured the council that the former vice president and presidential flag bearer of the party, Atiku Abubakar, will be in Osun, along with other party leaders to campaign.
As we move into another election on the 16th of July, we are confident that if all of us stay committed to the party, that we will be able to deliver the victory come July the 16th, 2022. Osun State obviously is a PDP state. We have great leaders who have a very clear understanding of the politics in that state. I want to urge all our leaders and our followers in Osun State to please quickly bridge the gaps of the divide that is amongst us, because victory stares us right in the face. It is for us to take. God has gone ahead of us. It is for us to follow the wish of God and to deliver the state to the PDP.
I also want to enjoin you to use that opportunity, engage the stakeholders in Osun, go to every nook and corner of Osun. We have a very popular candidate in Osun. We have no reason not to bring back Osun. So I believe with the caliber of people that are in this committee, I'm sure Osun will become ours.
Now, in the meantime, the PDP is debunking rumors of the suspension of its national chairman, Senator Iyorchia Ayu, insisting that he remains the national chairman of the party. In a statement signed by the party's National Publicity Secretary, Honorable Debo Ologunaba, the party says, and I quote, "It is clear that a false report is the handiwork of vicious anti-people forces who are agitated by the stability, unity, and soaring popularity of the party. Dr. Iyorchia Ayu is on short vacation outside the country, and he officially transmitted power to the Deputy National Chairman in line with the provision of the Constitution of the PDP 2017 as amended." End of quote. Well, let's update you with some more political stories.
Civil society organizations in Nigeria are kicking against any plans to deliberately shut down the internet as the 2023 general elections draw near. This call was made by the executive director of the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, PLAC, at a regional meeting on the state of the civic space in West Africa, which was held in Abuja. Civil society organizations at the event bemoaned Nigeria's shrinking civic space, highlighting laws which they say claim to fight hate speech and terrorism, but turn around to restrict the ability of the civic space to ensure transparency and accountability from the government. The National Population Commission in Gombe State has engaged no fewer than 105 field personnel for the trial census. According to the chairman of the MPC, Nasir Kwara, the officials were prepared to test the processes leading to a successful head count proposed for April 2023. The chairman noted that out of 11 local government areas of Gombe State, census will hold in 8, with the exception of 3. Kwara, represented by the Federal Commissioner Gombe State, Abubakar Damburam, made this disclosure in Gombe during the opening ceremony of the state-level training workshop for field personnel on trial census for the 2023 population and housing census at the Gombe State University. The Commission is determined to successfully conduct the trial census in their quest to deliver a credible, reliable, acceptable, and verifiable census to the nation. The lingering leadership crisis in the Akwa Ibom State chapter of the All Progressives Congress appears to be far from over, as the leader of one of the factions has accused the resident electoral commissioner, Mikey Guinea, of bias and vowed that his faction will not give up. But Mr. Mikey Guinea has dismissed this allegation, giving assurances that the Commission will continue to be firm and unbiased in the discharge of its functions. 2 factions have laid claim to the leadership of the APC in Akwa Ibom State. One faction is led by Obong Stephen Ntokekpo and supported by Senator Godswill Akpabio, Senator Ita Enang, and other political bigwigs, while the other faction is led by Mr. Austin Ekanem. There has been litigation up to the Court of Appeal in which the court had said that the parties in the case should maintain status quo.
This travesty must not be allowed to stand. Mr. Mikey Guinea has compromised his office by bringing the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) into the arena of political contestation in Akwa Ibom State.
The House of Representatives has resolved to set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the petroleum product subsidy regime from 2017 to 2021. The resolution of the House comes after a motion by Honorable Sergius Ogun stating that component cost in the petroleum product subsidy value chain claimed by the NNPC is highly overbloated, while the transfer pump price per litre used by the NNPC in relation to the PPMC is underquoted. The lawmaker describes this as fraudulent, while also expressing worry that the subsidy regime has been used by the NNPC and other critical stakeholders to subvert the nation's crude oil revenue to the tune of over $10 billion. The committee is to report to the House within 8 weeks for further legislative action. And the Senate is to send a delegation to the UK to visit embattled former Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu, who has been remanded in custody by the UK government on allegations of organ harvesting. Senate President Ahmed Lawan is disclosing this after a closed-door meeting on Tuesday. He says the members of the Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs will be traveling to the UK in the next 2 days to meet with Senator Ekweremadu. He says the Nigeria High Commission has engaged the services of some lawyers in the United Kingdom to defend Senator Ekweremadu when he appears in court next month.
Well, welcome back, everyone. The Senate has confirmed the 7 ministerial nominees sent in by President Muhammad Buhari last week. The nominees include Henry Ikechukwu Iko from Abia State, Umar Ibrahim El Yakub from Kano State, Ademola Adewale Adegoroye from Ondo State, and Odumodi from Rivers State. Others are Umana Okonumana from Akwa Ibom State, Kumankama Joseph Nkama from Ebonyi State, and Goodluck Nana Opia from Imo State. Now, with no portfolios attached to their names, the nominees were questioned individually on specific topics ranging from capacity to drive industrial development in the country, given the short time frame available, how to resolve the impasse between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, and more. Now, Goodluck Opia, Umar Ibrahim, El Yakub were, however, asked to take a bow and go on the National Assembly, based on the National Assembly's tradition with former lawmakers. I am now joined by the spokesperson of the Senate, Senator Ajibola Bashir, to speak more on this. Distinguished, thank you for joining us on Politics Today.
Yeah, good evening. How are you?
I'm very fine, thank you. You're no stranger to screening exercises as this, but I'd like to get your assessment of what happened today at the Senate. Yes, the Senate did go ahead with its tradition of bow and go for some, but if you compare this screening exercise with the previous ones, how would you assess it?
And I think it's very important to note that the task of screening ministerial nominee does not begin and end at the floor, at the plenary. Before the appearance of the nominee, their resume will have been given to senators who would have studied it, and if they have, questions bordering on their qualification, first, as a matter of law and constitution, that will be raised. You will know that there are basically the work of the Senate in the confirmation hearing is basically twofold. One, to first ascertain whether, as a matter of constitutional requirement, the nominee satisfy the requirements of the Constitution. The second would be to now, go beyond that and see whether, from their experience, from their exposure, and from what they have done in the past, they will be able to contribute meaningfully to the government of the president. As it were today, and as it is tradition with the Senate, when a person has been a national legislator, it is assumed that he has the content and the character to be able to handle the work of the other arm of government, which is the executive. And that is why the tradition is that you just take a bow and go. And of course, there's logic and sense in that tradition. If the person that is being asked to take a bow and go had been a legislator at that point in time, we would have been in a position to scrutinize such other nominee. So it would be anomalous to expect somebody who had acquired the status of being in a position to screen and confirm a nominee to now say you are going through rigor of another confirmation. As for the remaining other nominees, questions were asked by senators as to topical national issues with a view to ascertaining their understanding of issues affecting the country and providing possible solution. And of course, after the plenary, the Senate at the executive session and in the committee of the whole confirmed the nominee. So the stage is set for them to be sworn in by the governor, by the president, so that they can resume work in earnest.
All right, distinguished, let me ask you this question. The Senate has repeatedly said it would be good for the president to send the portfolios of those ministers along with their names. And this is still not the case, considering that you screen these ministers without knowing where they would be assigned to. Is this no longer a concern for the Senate?
You see, we have that concern, but our concern must have to be looked at within the context of the existing constitutional provision. The existing constitutional provision does not oblige the president to attach portfolios to the nominees for ministerial appointment. But of course, there is a pending bill that has been forwarded to the State Assembly to make that a constitutional requirement, such that in the future, when that amendment becomes law, then the portfolio will be attached to the nominee. But then, for either of the arguments, there will be some reasons that people may advance, whether it is actually desirable to attach a portfolio to the office of a minister. And I will say this without derogating from the fact that there's already a pending legislative action to make that to be mandatory. By Section 5 of the existing constitutional provision, the executive power of the federal government is vested in Mr. President, who may assign directly or indirectly ministers or any other persons to carry out such activity. It will mean that irrespective of whatever portfolio a minister is even given, by Section 5, the President of the Federal Republic may assign some other responsibility within the ambit of Section 5 and the amplitude of the executive power of the President under Section 5 of the Constitution. But the contention of the Senate is that it will allow the Senate to properly carry out its confirmatory role if portfolios were known in advance, so that questions relevant, germane, and being able to assist the senators in coming with a determination as to suitability of the nominee will be before the Senate.
When you look at those crop of ministers that the president has nominated now, would you say that they, with the responsibilities or the short frame available between now and the end of the tenure, which is just about 11 months. Do you think that within this time available that they can deliver on the president's mandate in these respective portfolios which are unknown now?
Of course, I think as soon as the ministers are sworn in, they will be given the portfolios that they will work upon. And I also know that presently, I don't think there's even any ministry that is not under one form of supervision of those of some ministers. Some of them may be under a minister of state previously, who are now being supervised by those ministers of state. Like, for instance, the Ministry of Transportation, which is now being supervised by Senator Saraki. So I believe also that the way government bureaucracy works is that irrespective of minister, there is the permanent secretary and the amplitude of the bureaucracy of the ministry that will be able to assist the minister in implementing the policies of the government. So, but I also believe that notwithstanding the short period of time, it is actually in the interest of the government of the country to ensure that the full amplitude of ministerial requirements is actually given recognition, and the appointment therefore is apposite, notwithstanding that the fact that we have about a year to the end of the tenure of our President Muhammadu Buhari.
Senator Bashir, following the screening, I couldn't help but notice that the ministers were questioned along different lines, almost suggesting that the Senate had an idea of where certain ministers could be posted to. Is that the case? Were you questioning, Senator, the ministerial nominees along the lines of, along broad lines based on where they could be posted to, or were you restricted to a certain line of questioning because of their qualifications?
Of course, I said earlier on that there are two, stages. First is to even look at the basic minimum requirements for qualification for the office of a minister. The second would be to inquire into their general understanding of the polity, possibly the economy and social issues in the country. I wouldn't know that any senator has power of clairvoyance or to be able to predict what eventually Mr. President will do in terms of assignment of portfolio. But I think some of the questions that were asked today arose from the concerns of the areas where distinguished senators asking those questions, things at the mind of the country, should be focusing. Like, for instance, the lingering, strike of the academic staff union of universities, which, is rather becoming, very worrisome as to the damage that is doing, to the academic, climate, of Nigeria. Of course, questions also about infrastructure is also a germane question that, irrespective of whatever portfolio any minister will be given, it should be able to have some answers into some of those topical and germane issues.
Senator Bashir, you had talked about how confident you were in the abilities of these nominees, considering that you had checked out their pedigree and how they can deliver. But just considering that the tenure of the president is almost over, what's the Senate's expectation from this crop of ministers in such a short time? The expectation specifically from the Senate. What are some of the areas that you expect these ministers to focus on, or the cabinet of the president to focus on?
I think it will depend on the portfolio, if it's in terms of specific requirements or specific expectation from the nominees who have been confirmed, will depend on what portfolio they have been given and they will be assigned by the president. But in terms of general expectation, I will say that Nigerians are concerned about the government taking a better approach to the issue of security in the country. The issue of security is very worrisome, and we must be able, to, as a government, and we are not isolating ourselves, even from the legislative arm, from the need for us to address the problem of security. And this problem actually provide a drawback on many other achievements of our president and our government in the area of infrastructure, social intervention, and so on, and so forth. So I think, basically the agenda in relation to security is very topical. Another very, topical agenda has to do with energy. Energy is very critical to infrastructure, development. And the worsening energy crisis because of the challenge with the national grid and of course the faulty transmission, system is another critical area that we think, the government and the new cabinet should also, focus on. Also of importance is also the area of food security. The rate of, inflation and the, cost, of living is also, very worrisome. I would believe that the ministers, as well as those who have been there before, need to assist in working, very well and ensuring that we address, the problem that affect the welfare and the cost of living, of Nigerians.
Let's get the mood of the Senate, especially during the screening process, because we understand that over 20 senators on the verge of leaving the All Progressives Congress, and they had met with the president yesterday, led by the chief whip of the House, Senator Ojuzo Kalu. Do you get a sense, or did you get a sense from today's proceedings that there should be no fears within the APC that those senators will be leaving?
I wouldn't know what individual senators, would think, but I would also not, believe that all the 22 senators, would leave the party. I know many of them who are our colleagues are committed party members, notwithstanding, the challenges and whatever, misgiving they may have about the processes, of a primary. I believe that they understand well that our party is poised, to win the presidency in 2023, and that even if they are not coming back to the 10th, assembly, they have a duty to ensure the emergence of candidates, particularly for the office of president in their respective constituency, and also looking forward to be of service to our party and the country in many other capacity beyond being members of the National Assembly. So I believe that the party leadership, as well as the presidency, and of course our leader, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they are doing their best to arrest the situation and ensure that all of us work assiduously for the emergence of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu on the platform of the APC in the 2023 general elections.
While you're confident of winning that election, it would seem that this is beyond the president. It would seem that the state governors are bent on making sure that these senators do not return, and that's why they have decided to see the president to see if there could be an intervention. Does this not suggest, going into the elections, that the ranks of the APC could have been depleted or could be depleted going forward, especially if these senators are not appeased and they end up leaving the party? Would you still view that confidence going into 2023?
I'm very optimistic that our party will win the 2023 presidential election. And I will also say that just as we have, senators that feel aggrieved that they are not returning, you will also know that in those constituencies, there are also senators who are also itching to win elections and ensure that they get it to the 10th assembly. So it is a situation whereby, yes, you have challenges with the incumbent, but those that have won the ticket will also want to do their best to ensure that our party win in their various constituency. And I also believe that the party leadership is also doing their best to ensure that we take this behind ourselves. For instance, today, even in Osogbo, there was a meeting by the National Secretary with aspirants of the party across the State Assembly and National Assembly, urging them to work for the success of the party in the July 16th government election and ultimately the February 2023 general election. So I'm very optimistic that irrespective of these challenges, all of us will weather the storm and work conscientiously, assiduously, and with all vigor to ensure the emergence of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the president of the country in February 2023.
Before we go on break, I know that it's a concern for the APC senators that if this number, if 22 or 20 APC members leave the APC, there could be a problem with the majority in the Senate. So let me ask you this question. Do you have an idea of how many senators you have now?
I wouldn't believe that 22 senators will leave our party. I think it's a mere wishful thinking, and I say it with all sense of responsibility. I know quite a number of the 22 senators who, yes, they may feel aggrieved, but they have put so much to build the platform that they will not jump from the platform just because they have this present challenge. Of course, politics is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Of course, they will weather the storm and then bounce back in other capacities very soon.
Jibola, I asked if you had a specific number of senators currently in the Senate.
I think the party should have about 64 senators, and the People's Democratic Party, I think about 37 or 38 senators. I know some senators, like the national chairman of our party and the deputy national chairman, they left the Senate because they are taking responsibility at the party level. And it's also not just that some of the returning senators, some of the senators are not returning because they lost at the primary. Some of them actually had a nomination for a gubernatorial position. Like, for instance, Senator Aisha Binani, who won the governorship primary in Adamawa State. Same thing for my leader, Senator His Excellency Omagige, who won the governorship election in the Delta State. So it's not just, some senators, of course, elect not to even go back. Some contested presidential election, like our leader, Senator Ajayi Borofis, who contested presidential election and they did not bother to take form to contest to go back to the Senate. So it's not just about those that could not secure nomination of the party, but some did not actually want to come back to the Senate because of higher calling and because of some other endeavors that they seek to achieve.
All right. Senator Jibola Bashiru, thank you very much for coming to speak with us today on Politics Today.
Yeah, thank you very much too for giving us the opportunity to interrogate the issues.
Politics Today will be right back. Please stay with us. Now, following INEC's publication of the particulars of the 16 presidential candidates and their running mates for the 2023 presidential election, Nigerians have been reacting, bringing the qualifications of the candidates under scrutiny. Reactions have continued to trail the claim by the APC presidential candidate, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, in an affidavit attached to the INEC form that his certificates were stolen after he was forced into exile by the military dictatorship of the late Sani Abacha. Now, the Action Alliance has asked a federal high court to restrain INEC from including the APC and its candidates on the ballot for the 2023 presidential election, even though the Tinubu campaign organization has said that it is yet to be served with the process. Well, let's get into the conversation now. I am joined by Mr. Babatunde Ogala, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Legal Director for the Tinubu campaign organization, and Barrister Anthony Ehilebo, a PDP chieftain. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Let me begin with Mr. Ogala. Let me ask you this. You had said earlier that you were yet to be served with the processes. Have you now been served?
Not yet.
But what's your reaction to this entire thing? You know, what's the validity of the documents circulating on social media?
You see, I don't know what documents anybody is circulating on the social media. I sit here as director of the campaign for legal matters, and I'll speak strictly as a lawyer, not delve into the realm of speculations, rumors, blackmail, and what have you. The question I ask myself, and I want to ask the viewers, what is the qualification prescribed for presidential candidates? It says educated up to school certificate level. This same constitution goes further to define school certificate level as education to primary 6 for school level certificate
and 10 years experience of work. And even goes further to say ability to read and write. Does this candidate meet this minimum educational qualification? Yes, he does. He has come here to say, I have a degree. I'm a lawyer. I'm a senior advocate. If I was to go into an election today, I won't go to the... I will put my degree. I am educated beyond school certificate level. And this is what I put forward. The law does not, and I say this authoritatively because the same thing applies to the PDP candidate, though I'm not speaking for the PDP candidate. There is also the same allegation that he didn't put his primary school, and I mean, these are pedestrian issues. And if anybody feels so strongly that there have been false declarations in their affidavits of our candidates, the law also permits aspirants, please mark my words, aspirants to approach the courts. So if anybody feels so strongly, approach the courts. It's not the court of social media. We won't react to all of that.
Barrister Hillable, you've listened to...
we won't react to court of rumors.
But
like I said,
regardless,
like I said, they said the same thing to the PDP candidate, and I'm like, well, I don't know what they are thinking, but I see no issues in it.
Regardless, while you say that you will not react to social media, I just want to confirm if the document from the Chicago State University is authentic.
What a question. If it is authentic, my candidate has a certificate. He has in his NYC discharge certificate. All there in the public. So what is the hula baloo?
Barrister,
we are chasing what is not lost.
Barrister Hillable, let me ask you this question. Are you satisfied with the explanation given by...
Oh, he's supposed to be interrogating me.
Absolutely.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought he was... Okay, let's go. Well, I hope I will interrogate his candidate too.
Well, I think... Thank you very much, Terry, for having me. And I think we must establish the fact that the very basic requirement is the ability to read and write for the presidential candidates. But the question we must ask is, why is everybody perturbed about the APC candidates? Why is there so much noise about this man? We can't tell exactly where he's from. We can't tell the schools he went to. And going by what the country has suffered in the last 7 years, having someone who did not go through the rigors of education. Education is there to put you through rigors. You pass through school. That's why they tell you, you allow education to pass through you, the school to pass through you, and you pass through the school. And that is why perhaps in the last 7 years of this administration, owing to the fact that we have a president who has not been in the four walls of the university, and we acknowledge that fact, we have had the highest number of strikes. And I take the point, the distinguished senator that speaks for the Senate, Senator Ajibola, made, that it's a terrible thing that we're still having the strike and that the effect is having on our education. Have we linked this to the fact that we have somebody sitting there who has no experience of what the university education would seem to provide for the average citizen? Nigeria today suffers the highest level of out-of-school children. And we think it's a joke for the person who would want to lead Nigeria not to have had educational qualifications or experience. It behoves us.
Just a second. If you speak to the documents available from INEC, beyond what we expect from a candidate, are you satisfied with the affidavit of Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his explanation that his certificates were stolen while he was in exile?
Well, in 1999, this same candidate was seeking to be governor of Lagos State. And he put two schools, the government, this daycare school in Ibadan and government college Ibadan. And he went between 1958 to 55 to 58. And then we've had someone come out to say I was in that school from 52 to 58. And I do not know this man. I did not recognize him, that we went to the same school. Look, I went to a primary, secondary, and university. And I'm in all my alumni groups. I went to University of Buckingham with the same set individual's son. He went to University of Buckingham. He's on our alumni group. What alumni group is this individual in? Where exactly is he from? These are questions, perhaps. He tried to mention the candidate of the PDP. They can't put them in the same box. At least we know that someone went to Provincial College, Yola. We've seen pictures of people he went to school with. We know that he has pictures for his diploma in ABU. We know that recently he has just graduated from Anglia Ruskin University, which is part of the Cambridge setup, and a master's in international relations and what have you. Look, we cannot keep electing people who do not have an appetite for education. We cannot simply put the lives of 200 million people who depend on people who are educated to take Nigeria to the next level. We can see by all indices of governance that we have failed simply because we have put people who do not think that education is as serious as it should be given a priority in Nigeria. Let me say this. The PDP has a candidate who believes so strongly in education that he owns a university.
Let me go to Mr. Ogala. Just a second. Let me go to Mr. Ogala. Chief Bode George had said that even in 1999, when Asiwaju was running for governor, he was asked to present these papers, and he didn't have them. So while you agree that, or while it's almost agreeable that at the presidential level or to run for office, you don't need those, you don't need that level of education. Just a second. Okay. Are you not concerned that this is generating a sort of reaction in the public space, considering that Nigerians are not interested in going through the certificate saga that it went through in 2015?
Terry Kumi, my colleague here, even though he calls me a he, I would have thought he would recognize the fact that I'm a senior at the bar and a senior member, not he. I would have thought so. But that's, by the way, he's my colleague. I think we need to be careful. When lawyers speak, we speak to the law. I wasn't coming here to dance in the market. I will talk law. I'm a senior advocate. What are the issues but the judge is raising? He has made authoritative statements, a lawyer, that somebody said is not an alumni group. Excuse me. I went to the University of Jos. I mean, we have several groups. I would not say because somebody said. We deal with facts. We as lawyers are not supposed to just come on national television and play with words and make comments that are even potentially defamatory, you know. But the judge said in 1999, a petition was put before the Lagos State House of Assembly, the body constitutionally provided for to investigate, including removal of governors and their deputies. The governor, then governor, was invited and he was exonerated. Nobody till this date has challenged that in any court. Some persons went to court on the same issue. The matters were litigated upon. No court in the land has said this man did any wrong. 15 years out of office, nobody. But an election cycle comes, we start raising issues that I say are non-issues. I asked Mr. Hilebo pointedly, does he meet the constitutional requirements? Atiku has said he went to a Ruskin University. He has said so, and I believe him. He has put in his form, which I saw, primary school gap, secondary school gap. Even the ABU he did not put there. Need he put things that the law does not require him to put? The law says educated up to a certain level. And he's gone far beyond that level.
Has he produced that document?
Produced what? Does
the first school...
Does the... You mean Atiku?
I mean Tinubu.
In his current form?
Yes.
He has put in his form, I have a bachelor's degree, Chicago State University.
I'm talking about the minimum requirement that you speak of.
He's not obliged. Terry, you think me, I want to find a job now? I'll put my primary school certificate.
But that's the minimum requirement of the Constitution, as you said.
The Constitution says educated up to. It does not prescribe.
So what's the proof of that education then?
Just a minute. It says educated up to minimum required. And it goes further to define school certificate. And somebody has gone far beyond the minimum. You expect him. So you expect me now as a senior advocate with a certificate of admission to the INABA. And I want to prove that I'm a senior advocate, I'll go and bring my LLB. You say, first prove to me that you're a lawyer. Excuse me, that won't happen. That won't happen.
Let
me say this.
Sorry, I keep getting...
Let me allow him round off.
No, I speak as a lawyer. I'm not one that wants to speak on rumors, conjectures, and what have you. The law says, and like I've said, if anyone feels strongly, the details have been published. Please approach the courts.
Let me allow Mr. Elebo come in here, please.
Well, since my learned SAN, Leonard Silk, decides to bring up these issues, and I might as well have kept quiet to allow him land as we do in court. But I'll dwell on that point of him being an SAN, such an exalted position in our legal profession. But it possibly has taken me out of breath that with such high level of qualification, he would want to elect someone who we are not sure of his educational background as our president.
Then go to court and challenge it.
Leonard SAN, I'm under his protection, and I would like for me to be able to make my point, sir. It is interesting that, the best and the brightest are sent to defend the indefensible. And that is the state we find Nigeria today. And that is a quagmire. We cannot continue another 8 years of saying, why didn't we check this man's credentials? Why didn't we question rigorously everything that is put before us? He says he's not a politician, he's not here, but the issue he's arguing here is a political issue. So he must come into the realm of politics, and we talk like politicians, and we bring out the issues that Nigerians want to ask us. Who is this man that seeks to become president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? What is his educational qualification? 7 years ago, I beg to differ on his points. Nigeria said even if the man had NEPA certificate, we'll take it. Well, we have seen today what NEPA certificate can get us.
The Supreme Court said. Please.
Yes, sir. Allow me, because I allowed you to.
Let me. Sorry, Mr. Elebo. Gentlemen, let me take you to the. Let me take you.
Allow me to make my point.
Just a second.
I still have the floor.
Let me just take you to the point, sir. All right, just round off then.
So, we can't come here and be intimidated by, because I'm actually looking at the consequences for Nigeria, how we have felt over the last couple. ASU is still on strike. ASU is still on strike, and we are here arguing about Nigeria has one of the highest.
Let me come in here. He's coming from a legal point, and he said that if the PDP is aggrieved, it should go to court.
Thank you.
So is the PDP going to go to court over this matter?
Well, I have not consulted my principal on what he intends to do.
But would you advise that the PDP goes to court?
Goes to court? If we were going to go to court, we'll be looking at the issue of perjury, which in 1999 he mentioned. He mentioned that in the affidavits deposed to, in the forms that were submitted, he made 2 claims and has now turned around to say he cannot find these documents that were taken by the military, which had before 1999 operated. And we had the young man at that time, he's now very, very much older, who went to take blame for it. That was Senator Tukuba Afikubib. And everybody knows this story. Look, no matter how much we try and throw this into the legal balance, it's still an issue that affects every single Nigerian. And I will bring us back to the political issues at hand. That we cannot for the issues we have currently in Nigeria, wave with the wave of hand and go to courts. When we can interrogate this issue, if it wasn't such an important issue, why would channels have it up? Why will it be a topical issue? Because we know the consequences, and you referred back to it, that we do not want to have the conundrum of questioning. We must look at the integrity, the context of the person who wants to become the president of Nigeria. What are the facts he's presenting before us? Can we question these facts and that they're authoritative?
Let me take you to what the Imo State governor said. He's blamed the controversies trailing Senator Tinubu's certificate on INEC, and he said that if the server of INEC was functioning properly, that this wouldn't be an issue.
We have blamed everything but the kitchen sink. We have blamed everything but the kitchen sink. All we ask of this man is clear facts on who he is, because if we had a certificate that told us this was a secondary school, the university he went to, we have these certificates, we would have been able to question his age at the time, his current age, which is in question. There are many doubts as to who the person of this character that wants to become president. And perhaps if we had these facts, we would have cleared them.
Let me go to Mr. Okada. Let me go to Mr. Okada.
I will again advise my colleague, use civil language. We are lawyers. You do not call persons on national TV character, this character. Let's be polite.
I don't want to interrupt him, but I said the character of the individual.
I will not insult an Elijah Atiku.
I would not insult. I would not insult
vice president of this
country. I would not
country.
insult you.
Excuse me.
Please let him.
Excuse me. We are well-informed lawyers. We need to be careful. Then we need to also be careful on the things we say, especially when they are defamatory. A lawyer comes on national television and pronounces that somebody perjured, somebody is guilty of perjury. Why have you not made a formal report? This is criminal allegation, which you know is proved beyond reasonable doubt.
Mr. Okada, let's
go back, I've said to you,
let's take the subject.
Sorry, 1999 issues that have been litigated. Only in 2019, Vice President Atiku Abubakar, the candidate of PDP, went to court on the Buhari certificate issues. The Supreme Court pronounced on it. And a lawyer is coming here to say it's an issue that is alive. A lawyer. I can excuse it when it's somebody who is uninformed. You went all the way to the Supreme Court on this issue and you lost. Does that not put a seal on it? And here you are saying somebody had no certificate. Tinubu rose to being the treasurer of Mobile, a multinational. That in itself speaks for itself. Two-time governor of Lagos State, a past senator, and indeed one of the most successful members of the political class in this country. Of course, it's only natural. When Obama was going to be American president, every brick was thrown at him because he was the candidate to beat. A few years ago, I think there's a litigation in court that says Vice President Atiku Abubakar is not in Nigeria. The matter is pending. I think it came up a few days ago. Would I then, a lawyer, come on TV and say it's not a Nigerian because somebody somewhere said so? No, sir, but it's an allegation. But we will not descend to that level. I won't descend to that level and say, Ipajod is not in Nigeria because somebody somewhere said so. So here, what is the issue? Is Asiwaju Tinubu qualified for this office? If so, then, if you feel otherwise, please, there is a judicial remedy. Exercise it. You wait for your principal. Not to say you've not gotten to go ahead from your principal, and you have to come here to make some extremely spurious defamatory allegations on national television. I won't wait for my principal. I won't wait for my principal because I heard the legal directorate. I see you introduced just as a lawyer and a chieftain. So I can understand why he does not have the authority to speak like I possibly do. But I said to you again, Terry,
just let him land.
I will put it again, and I'm putting it publicly. If the PDP or anybody feels strongly, there's several cases, there are about 3 cases in court now. on these same allegations, one by Action Alliance.
That you've been served?
That we've read in the social media. We wait for the processes. There's one by a group that calls itself Gaskia Movement. We joined issues. They suddenly want to settle. There's another by somebody who calls himself Kaluago and a certain body, and Cairo, who fight the Action Alliance. The same thing this fellow did. The same thing they did in 2019 with Buhari. I personally handled the matter.
Mr. Ogala, we're almost out of time. We're almost out of time. Let me allow Barrister.
And then here they are again.
Let me allow Barrister.
When the candidates are there to beat, you must do everything I hear.
Let Barrister Halebo land. We're almost out of time now.
It would seem that rather than face the issues that we have, I think that my learned SAN would think that gaslighting me here would help the matters that we have.
Gaslighting.
Unfortunately, I'm not one to be intimidated by such.
Your time is running out.
I pray you get there.
Because the point is this. We have to find a man that has appetite for education. Education is one of the biggest problems we have today in Nigeria. And that's why we must query, interrogate, and bring everything that concerns this man's education to light.
You have the final say, but let me take you up on what's let me take you on what. Just a second, Mr. Ogala. Just a second. Let me take you up on what he said. He said that beyond holding public office, he's worked in private organizations, and these are organizations that you can't work in without certain qualifications.
You know, when he raised that
does
point,
that not suffice?
I remembered a certain speaker of the Nigerian National Assembly.
Yes.
That was removed because his certificates were found to be dubious. Salisu Buhari, do you remember? So let us not use that someone can fraudulently rise to any organization. Can fraudulently rise to any organization if his qualifications do not speak to the issue that we have as Nigeria. We can, and I certainly will raise these issues.
I will
raise them in the public space.
As I live here, I'm only waiting for your writ, and it's an open challenge as a lawyer. It's an open challenge that you have.
We are going to put this in the court of the Nigerian people. Do you want somebody who we cannot testify to the veracity and the authenticity of his certificate to come and take over the ruling of this country again after 7 years, 16 years of someone who doesn't care about education?
At this point, we've run out of time. I
will not shout on national television.
No, again, this gaslighting.
Can I speak?
In 30 seconds, please.
I will just appeal to my friends in the People's Democratic Party that they have a good lawyer, Buckingham trained, that in 2 days' time will be the deadline for them to file their processes. They should please make haste and do so. They have a good crop of senior advocates who were engaged in 2019, where they raised similar issues and not to the Supreme Court, like they say.
All right, man.
Lost all the way.
Our time's up.
They should please do so before the 14th.
Mr. Babatunde Ogala, thank you.
Nigerians want to hear.
We are not
Mr. Babatunde Ogala, thank you. Gentlemen. Mr. Babatunde Ogala, thank you very much for coming. Also, Barrister Anthony Halebo, thank you very much for coming to speak on this matter.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's politics today. Thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.